3rd year and I study music at Lady Margaret Hall.
How many people are in your year group for music?
I think it's about 70, but how many are in your college all depends. At my college there's 4, but sometimes there might only be 1 or 2, but there's usually not more than 5 at one college in 1 year, I don't think.
How many years is the course?
The course is 3 years long.
Okay. And can we go through like a brief overview of each year? Of like what you have to do?
Yeah, so first year is kind of separate from the other 2 years, although some of the material might be similar. First year you mainly do compulsory modules to do with history, musical analysis, and you can pick some other things, so to do with performance and composition. And I think there's some newer modules that I didn't do, so there's critical listening and foundations of musicology. But in general, the amount you can pick is quite limited. And then with the other 2 years, about half of it is picked for you, so you don't have much scope within that, but then the other half you can pick from loads of different things. So there's history modules, there's things like composition, solo performance, conducting. There's a lot of things you can do depending on what you're interested in. And the 2 years add up to, like, well, you're working on finals material for those 2 years.
Okay, cool. And then do you have an exam in the end?
Yeah, so most people have about 4 exams, and then other things will include coursework modules, dissertation. It just depends on what you pick really, but I had 4 written exams and a recital, and then 3 coursework modules. Cool. So that's about average, I'd say.
Yeah, and I was going to say the dissertation because my college one did music, and I remember she wrote something about rock bands, I think.
Yeah, you can do. People do a really wide variety of things. Like for example, mine was on the Step Up dance film soundtrack.
Oh wow!
Yeah, thanks. And it was looking at representations of authenticity and hip hop in kind of mainstream film. So it can be anything you want, and there's no restriction, I'd say, in terms of genre or what you want to write about, as long as it's related to music.
Okay.
And that.
So there's no restrictions based on like which tutors are available?
No, not really. You'll be given a supervisor dependent on your subject or like roughly in your area, but in theory you should always be able to find someone who can supervise your dissertation, even if it's in something that there isn't a person who is solely dedicated to that. In fact, there'll be someone.
Flexibility is always good.
Exactly.
We have some more interesting questions later on that you gave, but before we get to those, could you give some advice to people who are watching this who may be thinking of applying to do this course at Oxford?
Yeah, so I'd say the main things are to look at the faculty website and to look at all the information on there about applying. But things that you don't generally get told are in your interviews. You could have a variety of things, but most people will probably look at a score of some kind and talk about the music. So I would familiarise yourself with lots of different music, lots of scores, mostly I'd say classical music. And you might also be given like a text, a piece of writing about music. So it's always worth looking into your A-level music course, if you do A-level music, looking into the piece a little bit more, listening around it. I think that is provided now in A-level music. And just generally kind of thinking more about music, because the Oxford course is really academic compared to most other UK music courses. So it's always worth thinking more about music rather than just listening to lots of music.
Yeah. And when you say that the Oxford course is more academic, which I kind of expected because that's a running theme with these videos now, does that mean that you have more essays rather than actually playing music? Or?
Not necessarily, it depends on what you want to do. Okay. So for some people, they barely do any performance at all. For some people choose to do a lot. I did quite a lot, and I took performance modules as part of my degree. But I'd say the bulk of your weekly work would be essay-based. You have about 2 essays a week, or maybe 3 a fortnight. As with most humanities subjects.
You have tutorials as well?
Yeah. So it's very similar. It's just that you can choose, if you want to dedicate more time to composing or performance or any other things you're interested in to do with music, so conducting, whatever that might be. So yeah, there is the scope to do that, but I'd say the main meat of the course is that.
Okay, cool. And then I guess the next thing would be, could you give advice to people who are offer holders and are due to come to Oxford to take music?
I mean, at this point, I'd say don't stress, because obviously I know results day hasn't happened.
Yeah.
The main thing actually is, if you've been given a reading list, great, but don't stress it too much, because I know some people in other subjects get given a lot of work, and I remember worrying that I wasn't doing enough, because my tutor had said, we're not going to set you any reading, and that was fine. But I'd say just come with an open mind. Don't come thinking I want to do this and this. If you know that that's all you're going to do, then great. But I think one of the best things I did was not come in saying I'm definitively going to do this, because actually I changed my mind quite a few times with what I wanted to write about, what I wanted to pick. So yeah.
I think that's really good advice, to be honest. That makes
Thanks.
a lot of sense. So I guess maybe there are misconceptions about music or music at Oxford. What are some of the ones that you've heard, and can you tell us if they're true or false?
I think there are a lot of misconceptions about kind of type of music, because there's a misconception that everyone who goes to Oxford only wants to do classical music, especially because we have so many choirs and there's organ scholarships and choral scholarships, and I think people worry if they want to apply to music but they don't want to apply to that, then that means they can't apply to music at Oxford at all, and that is not the case. I don't have an organ or choral scholarship. I sang in the choir for a bit, but that's it. I haven't done a lot of that, but you can still get a lot out of the course if you want to. Equally, there is a lot of that, and if you want to do that, it's there, but you don't have to. So I think that's quite a big one.
I guess this is also quite important. Is there any information that you wish that you knew when you were applying for this course, specifically at Oxford?
I wish I'd known more what was going to happen in the interview, just because there wasn't a lot of information on that. Like I said, mainly as long as you're looking at there's lots of really good books to do about introduction to music and sort of looking into what music is like in academia, because my personal statement didn't have a lot of books on it. But I think it's an idea to have sort of an idea of what musicology and the music course at Oxford is like. But also, if you don't do that, that's fine. As long as you're aware that you're going to have to look at scores, you're going to have to talk about your personal statement, and that you are going to have to look at maybe a bit of writing. You might have to do a small keyboard test, but it probably won't be too bad. Just knowing what you're going to have to do when you get there.
Talking about tests, was there an admissions test?
So no, there's not an admissions test in the same way there are for other subjects, but you will have to do an audition when you get here. Which is, it's not, it sounds really formal, but actually it's not at all. So it's literally 5 minutes. You go in and basically play a piece, and it doesn't have to be, I mean, most people I'd say would be expected to have about grade 8 ABRSM distinction standard, but it doesn't even have to be that standard. Ultimately, the test is actually just there to prove that you play what you said you played in your personal statement. I don't think anyone's ever not been let in because of that.
Okay. Because again, like if I haven't said it before, I will say it again. Do not lie in your personal statement.
No.
It's personal, and like they won't care if you're making up things that are fancy. They want things that are true. So don't say that you play an instrument if you don't play it. You know.
Yeah, true.
Actually, this is interesting. Prior to coming to university, did you do A-levels?
I did, yeah.
And which subjects did you take?
So I did music, French and maths, and I did English literature for AS.
Okay. And do you think that those subjects helped you for where you are now? And is there a combination that you think would have helped you?
I wouldn't say there's a combination that would have helped any more than what I did. Music A-level's a funny one because it used to be a requirement. There's a lot of details. Look on the website, I can't remember what it is. As in, I know there's loads of different combinations you can have instead of music A-level. But it's not actually, it's fine, it prepares you in some basic ways. You learn things like water fugues sometimes, or it depends on what music you're studying. But
Is this music A-levels?
yes,
Okay.
but it's not the be-all and end-all. If you don't have it, as long as you have, I think it's things like music technology or music, grade 8 music theory.
So they don't have a requirement for subjects you need to do, but they need you to have certain levels and things?
Yeah, so it's the same as other humanities, so 3 A's, but music A level, like, it's fine, but it's not the be-all and end-all. You can probably come here without it, just as long as you fulfill the actual requirements.
So moving on for requirements, you said that there's an audition, which is exciting. What does that require of you, and how do you even prepare for that?
It doesn't require a lot of you. For example, if you're doing music A level or IB, you're probably already preparing a small recital of about 10 to 12 minutes, and this audition is only 5 minutes. So you probably just come in and play one piece, or even a section of a piece. For example, I played the first movement of a Mozart violin concerto, and I didn't even do the whole thing because, well, the structure just repeats at the end. So they didn't ask me to do the end. But it's not super taxing, and most likely they'll probably stop you before 5 minutes is up.
Okay.
It's just a small performance.
And then on the course itself, how much performance do you have to do?
In theory, you could only do keyboard skills in first year, which is about 7 minutes of playing. Even that sounds a bit long. You could do very little if you wanted and just never do performance at all. But also you can do, there's so many opportunities outside of your degree, you could do so much performance if you wanted. I did quite a lot. But as part of your degree, you could do solo performance, you can do chamber music, there's other things like choral conducting and orchestral conducting. So yeah, there's quite a few options.
Okay, that's really interesting. Like, I'm learning a lot in these videos because I know nothing about music at Oxford, or music in general, to be honest. In terms of your work, what constitutes your workload? Like, what do you guys have to do for homework or like actually in your classes?
Yeah, so I'd say on an average week at Oxford, most of your essays will be history topics and analysis and maybe musical thought and scholarship. So we would have usually one tutorial for history topic every week, and then one for analysis every fortnight, and one for musical thought and scholarship every fortnight. So history topics can be anything, actually they change yearly, from like medieval song all the way up to like electronic music and 20th century things. It's quite broad. Analysis in first year is mostly 18th century, and then second and third year is 19th century chamber music, so it'll be small ensemble. With history topics you're given a reading list and you have to go away and read it and then write an essay based on a question given to you. With analysis, it's more based on you're given a piece and you have to analyse it. You're given a question with some parameters, but that's more of a skill that you build up, so you do that throughout your whole degree. And then musical thought and scholarship, you'll be given reading. It's quite similar to history, but it's more critical thinking based and you can play around with it a bit more. So I'd say that's the main things you do, and they're the 3 exams. Some people don't always do musical thought and scholarship or analysis actually. You can also do techniques of composition, which is like harmony and counterpoint that you might do at A level, and that sort of requires like an exercise or 2 exercises a week. I don't know, I haven't taken it since first year, but that was what it required in first year.
Actually, where do your lessons take place? Where's the faculty, or is it all in your college?
It depends. So most of your tutorials will probably be in college with the tutors there. Your lectures will either be at the faculty or in exam schools. You also have tutorials with tutors from other colleges, dependent on history topics and who's available and things like that. So you may have to go to other colleges.
Again, I think I've learned a lot from this already. Is there anything else that you think the people watching this at home should know about music at Oxford? Or anything else that you want to share, to be honest, about the course?
It's always great to arrive with some idea of what you're interested in, because actually I remember being asked that a lot and then just sort of saying loads of things. Also, there is such a wide variety of things you learn and you gain so many skills. And I took courses that I never would have thought about taking before I came here. Like I did one on sound art and I did one called music and capitalism. So it's cool. Like, if I hadn't come in thinking I don't mind so much what I do, I wouldn't have done that. So I think that's always good, because then you take advantage of how many opportunities there are.
Those courses that you mentioned, do they vary every year depending on like who's available?
Yeah, they can do, especially those 2 actually, whereas the more compulsory ones, obviously they're more fixed, but yeah, they'll always happen.
I think that's about it, to be honest. If you guys have any questions, leave them below and I can try and get the answers for you. But thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
This has been great. Cute. See you soon in the next video. Subscribe, like, share this with anyone else who might be interested in doing music at Oxford. But yeah, see you guys next time. Bye. This is all going great.
How do I say this?
We've got a good grip on things now.
Okay.
Which is kind of sad. But he still plays music.
Oh, good.
Yeah, there's one window. But it should be fine. We're like next to Merchant Street, so I'm not sure if it's because of clashing, but then I hear music as well.
It's not quite 5:30 yet, so like,
Okay, whatever that is.